Like and subscribe right now, or this will be in your bed tonight. Hello everyone and welcome back to another video looking at the top posts from r/ProRevenge. Before we start, please help me out and like and subscribe. All you have to do is scroll down and click the red subscribe button and the like button. This means you will get more content from me. Thanks if you have done this. You have made my day. Also welcome and thank you to the new 3 subscribers. Destroy our tree. We'll destroy your driveway. Full disclosure, this happened almost 5 years ago, so my memory of this is a little fuzzy at times. However, the major player here confirmed that it's accurate enough to get the story across, so I'm going with it. It's also kinda lengthy, so there's a TL doctor at the end. Background. Our house is old. It is really old. It's older than the town. Hell, it's older than Confederation. The house was originally built by a merchant from the area like 200 years ago. Its old point with its age comes a very big property line, and apart from a couple adjustments here and there to account for infrastructure and housing development, it's basically unchanged from 100 years ago. It rarely ever comes up here, but in any dispute relating to property lines, the official town plan takes precedent, and our property line crosses over into our neighbor's property. This will be important later. And now for the 2 major players in this tale. Our asshole neighbor, who we will call Lumpy. He's just the worst. He ran an illegal chop shop in his backyard and seemed to be deathly afraid of trees. He also always took a 2-week-long vacation in summer, and it was always at the end of July. This part is also important later. The other one is my dad. At the time he was in government oversight, but before that he was in the Department of Justice, and his major responsibilities included training crown attorneys. This included the attorneys general. In the pecking order, dad was actually pretty low, but the crown knew and respected him, and they were keenly aware that dad knew the law inside and out. If there was anything even remotely resembling a legal dispute, dad was almost always in the right with his argument. Now we begin our tale. The slight. The line between our yard and Lumpy's was pretty clear. Our side was grass, Protestant lilies, shrubs, and trees. His was a gravel driveway. Before the incident, there was a large Manitoba maple tree growing there. It was very old, but grew in such a way that it blocked just enough sunlight to have a pleasant level of light going through the window. We had no intentions of ever removing it, maybe trim it a little if it got too close to the windows. However, some lower branches were sagging onto Lumpy's driveway, so he asked if he could cut down some of the lower branches so that his car wouldn't get damaged when he drove in and out. It was a fair enough request, and he did ask permission first, so we told him to get a landscaper and a quote, because we sure as hell weren't going to let Lumpy do it, and were okay paying for that. A couple days later we were all on a day trip somewhere, and when we got back, Lumpy comes over and tells us not to worry about the landscaper because he took care of it. Red flags were waving at that statement. So we went and checked the tree. Bastard cut the entire tree down. Then, to add insult to injury, he painted the stump with some sort of weird grey stuff. Don't know what it was, but it had to have been toxic as fuck, because nothing ever grew on that stump again, not even fungi. So we are understandably pissed off, but unfortunately there's nothing we can do about it, because there's no proof. So now we've got a stump that was once a beautiful tree, a smug neighbor, and seemingly no course of action to take. Dad didn't accept that scenario, and he had a plan. The plan. As I said earlier, dad knew the law inside and out, so he began to plan things out. He made a few phone calls to the town's civil architect, a couple inspectors, the local landscaper Lumpy was going to get that quote from, and a contractor. He visited City Hall and got a copy of the official town plan, which, remember, is the final word on property lines. He had everything arranged, and now he began to wait. The revenge. Like clockwork, Lumpy went on vacation, and the plan was enacted. Over the course of 2 weeks, we expanded. We rebuilt our fence to new dimensions, rearranged the shrubs, dug up the gravel driveway, and put fresh dirt and grass over it, and planted a weeping willow in a spot where, as it grew, would always hang and shed into Lumpy's yard. With the expanded fence and shrubbery, Lumpy's driveway was a small strip of pavement, maybe half a meter wide. The fence placed an old, dying maple and a hawthorn on our side, but because of how the two trees grew, most of it was on Lumpy's side. The key point is that the placement of the trunk dictates whose property it's on, so it's our tree that he can't touch, no matter how annoying or destructive it is. With the new dimensions, the chop shop he was running was now on our side of the fence, but because it was illegal, it was just scrap metal as far as the law was concerned. So we sold it to a local scrap yard. By the time Lumpy came back, our yard had expanded almost 3 meters into his yard, and waiting for him was Dad, the civil architect, and a lawyer with a stack of documents outlining, in full detail, that what they did was 100% legal, and there wasn't a thing he could do about it. TL. Dr. Our asshole neighbor illegally chopped down our tree, so we legally destroyed his driveway. Edit. Not sure how it happened, but it was supposed to say that we told Lumpy to get the quote and that we'd pay for the landscaper because we didn't want Lumpy to do it himself. Second edit. Aftermath. Lumpy apparently tried to press charges, something along the lines of trespassing or destruction of property or something ridiculous like that. I had moved out of town at the time, so I don't know for sure what happened, but I like to think the judge just threw the case out. Like I said, everything was above board and completely legal. What I do know he did was tear up part of his lawn and put in a new driveway. He still had room for it, but it also cut his lawn in half, and he had to pay to have the sidewalk adjusted into a ramp. Also, because the town was paying attention now, he had to have it done properly, with like asphalt and stuff, instead of gravel like before. He's also apparently planning to move out and rent the property to others. Third edit. Explanations. Okay, I feel I need to include a couple things, just to make sure everything relevant is known. Adverse possession. Under Canadian property law, adverse possession takes place after a number of years of continuous, notorious, and open possession. In Ontario it means that for 10 continuous years the squatter has to be openly using the land and making no attempt to hide that fact. However, it has to be 20 years before the land can be legally changed over to the squatter's name for absolute ownership. Lumpy had been there for more than 10 years, but less than 20. He could make a possession claim, but not an ownership claim, but none of it applied to him anyway for 2 reasons. He only openly claimed the driveway, and never the backyard. For him to claim the part of his backyard we repossessed, he'd have to admit to the illegal chop shop's presence, or he'd have to claim it was a ridiculously large pile of scrap metal. In either case it would be removed, because having either violated a town by law. Side note, when the fences were moved, and the chop shop was on our side, we, being legally obligated, had everything involved hauled away, and used part of the very substantial payment for the metal, to pay the fine for having a large scrap metal pile on our property. Like I said, Dad kept everything above board. In Ontario, under the Land Titles Act, a property owner can convert their ownership to land title ownership. In situations like this, the squatter has to have been using the land in question a minimum of 10 years before the property was converted into a land title. For example, if a property was converted in 1985, the squatter has to have been there since at least 1975 to be able to make a claim. My parents closed on the house in 1993, and Dad made certain that the property was converted to a land title because he immediately had an extension built, and the land title ownership made the paperwork easier somehow. Don't know the details. I'm just a library technician, not a legal expert. My point being that Lumpy would have had to have been using that area since at least 1983 for him to claim adverse possession, and he moved into his house about 3 years after us and made the driveway not long after. We didn't care much, the bushes and fence line were in place long before we moved in, but we also knew that he was using our land if it ever came to that, which it obviously did. TL. Dr. Lumpy had no legal leg to stand on to make a case for adverse possession. Paying for the tree branches, the original draft stated that we were going to make Lumpy pay for a landscaper to trim the tree. While that was a mistaken sentence on my part, we were under no obligation to acquiesce to his request nor pay for it. It's our tree, on our land, and we weren't bothered by its presence whatsoever. If dad wanted to be rude, he could've taken the position of you want it done, you pay for it, but he didn't, because that would've been rude, legal and the right course of action, but rude. We decided to get it done because it was a reasonable request and were willing to pay a professional to do it because we didn't want Lumpy to do it himself for retroactively obvious reasons. Lumpy's reaction/fate. I wasn't there at the time, but dad told me that Lumpy's face was a lovely blend of crimson and puce, and that his general demeanor was a combination of sputtering silent rage and rapidly dying inside. He's still living there and probably can't afford to move out. He retaliates by mowing his lawn as early as he can get away with it every day. On the dying maple he wanted to cut down, but can't now because of the fence. There's a bunch of woodpeckers. They're nice and loud, but oddly soothing in a way. There's also a family of crows building a nest in some of our Angelman ivy growing on the house. They don't like Lumpy. Thank you all for watching to the end of the video. But before you go, please like and subscribe for more. Not many of you at all that watch are subscribed or like the video, and this makes me unsure if I should continue to make more content or not. So if you want more content, please like and subscribe. If you don't want to miss out on any future videos, click the bell icon next to the subscribe button. Also, please give me some feedback in the comment section about what I can do better, because not many people comment on my videos, so I have no idea of people's opinions of thoughts about this YouTube channel. So yeah, that's all from me. If you have subscribed and liked the video, please consider sharing the video with your friends. Thanks and bye. I'm still doing daily uploads, so hope to see you in tomorrow's video. Bye.